Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 9th, 2026 meeting of the Haverford Township Board of Commissioners. Before we begin tonight, I'd like to make an announcement that we met in executive session to discuss personnel and legal matters. We'll begin the meeting with a roll call. We'll ask our Township Manager, Dave Berman, to now please take the roll.
Commissioner Gondek.
Present.
Commissioner Forstey-Grupp.
Here.
Commissioner Cavender.
Here.
Commissioner Holmes.
Here.
Commissioner Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner Hart.
Here.
Commissioner McCullum.
Here.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Here.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Here, thank you. I now ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by our Chief of Police, John Biola. Chief.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
Amen.
Thank you. To kick tonight's meeting off, we'll begin with a presentation of a proclamation recognizing Black History Month. This will be read by Commissioner Cavender. Commissioner Cavender, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Proclamation of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, celebrating Black History Month. Whereas Black History Month is observed annually during the month of February to recognize and honor the rich history, culture, and enduring contributions of African Americans to the social, economic, political, scientific, artistic, and cultural development of the United States. And whereas African Americans have played a vital role in shaping our nation's history, often overcoming systemic barriers and injustice while demonstrating resilience, creativity, leadership, and an unwavering commitment to progress and equality. And whereas the legacy of African American leaders, innovators, educators, artists, entrepreneurs, public servants, business leaders, and community members continues to strengthen our democracy and enrich communities across the nation and within the Township of Haverford. And whereas Black History Month provides an opportunity for residents of all backgrounds to learn, reflect, and engage in meaningful dialogue about our shared history, while reaffirming our collective responsibility to advance equity, inclusion, and mutual respect. And whereas meaningful observance of Black History Month includes intentional actions such as supporting Black-owned businesses, engaging with works by Black authors, artists, and historians, participating in educational programs and cultural events, visiting museums and historical sites, encouraging age-appropriate learning in schools and households, and fostering respectful conversations about history, justice, and community. And whereas the Township of Haverford is committed to fostering a community that values diversity, promotes understanding, and ensures dignity and opportunity for all residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford in public session and duly assembled to hereby proclaim the month of February as Black History Month and encourage all residents, schools, civic organizations, faith communities, and businesses to observe this month through education, reflection, and action by learning about local, state, and national Black history, supporting Black-owned businesses and community organizations, attending or hosting cultural, educational, and commemorative events, incorporating Black history and voices into classrooms, workplaces, and community spaces, and continuing these efforts beyond the month of February in pursuit of a more informed, inclusive, and equitable community. Be it further resolved that this proclamation be entered into the official minutes of the Board of Commissioners, publicized via Township communications, and communicated publicly.
Thank you, Commissioner Cavender. We will next enjoy a presentation of a proclamation recognizing Haverford Township as a welcoming community. This will be read by Commissioner Holmes. Commissioner Holmes, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Trombetta. I can't do anything without an introductory speech, but I swear I'll be quick. Four of us on our board, Sherry, Connor, Laura, and I, met. We are the subcommittee for the Human Relations Commission, the subcommittee of commissioners, and we met with two representatives, one of whom is here with us tonight, of the Human Relations Commission, in part to reacquaint ourselves with their mission and what they've been doing. And at that meeting, we were privileged to read and review a resolution that they had undertaken to resolve to affirm the township's commitment to inclusive, respectful, and welcoming behavior. And we were very impressed by it. And it just so happened we were approaching what is the 15th anniversary tonight of our passing the Human Relations Act back in 2011 and creating the Human Relations Commission that night. And so I asked if we could do this proclamation and if I could be the one to present it. I am the only one on this board who was on this board at the time that act was passed and the commission was created. And I owe it to my colleagues, Commissioners Trumbull and Siegel and Oliva and Wexler, for their votes that night and their what turned out at the time to be their political bravery to undertake that act. We're only the 16th municipality in all of Pennsylvania to have. Sorry. Yeah. We were only the 15th or 16th municipality in all of Pennsylvania to undertake the expansion of the Human Relations Act in Pennsylvania. There are now an overwhelming majority of Pennsylvanians now live in jurisdictions that recognize the expanded rights, but we're ahead of that, and I thought it would be appropriate for us to reaffirm what we did that night. So, if I may. Whereas the Township of Haverford believes that diversity is a source of strength, that all residents, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, age, ability, gender identity, expression, sexual orientation, language, citizenship status, or background, deserve to feel safe, valued, and respected within the community. And whereas the Township recognizes that a sense of belonging is essential to civic engagement, economic vitality, and a healthy community. And whereas the Township strives to cultivate a climate of respect, empathy, and equity for every person who lives, works, studies, or visits here. And whereas the Board of Commissioners believes that local government functions best when all residents trust that their participation, their needs, and their perspectives will be heard and respected. And whereas the Township will continue to strengthen community relationships through practices that emphasize accessibility, transparency, fairness, and inclusion in governance and service delivery. And whereas 15 years ago this month, the Board of Commissioners of Haverford Township enacted the Human Relations Act and established the Haverford Township Human Relations Commission. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Township Board of Commissioners that Haverford Township reaffirms its commitment to be a welcoming, inclusive, and respectful community for all residents, employees, students, and visitors. The Township declares once again that every individual deserves to participate fully in civic life without fear of bias, exclusion, or discrimination. Be it further proclaimed that all Township services, programs, and activities shall continue to be administered in ways that promote equitable access and remove unnecessary barriers. Township employees are expected to treat every person with dignity, fairness, and respect. And be it further proclaimed that the Township encourages broad participation in local government and will continue to seek input from diverse community members, advisory boards, and civic organizations to ensure that decisions reflect the needs of all who call Haverford home. And be it further proclaimed that the Township reaffirms that public safety depends on mutual trust and cooperation between residents and law enforcement. And to that end, the Haverford Township Police Department will continue to serve all individuals impartially, protecting the rights and safety of every member of the community. And be it further proclaimed that the Township will provide or support training opportunities to build awareness of inclusive practices, cultural competence, and effective communication across differences, fostering a professional environment that values empathy and understanding. And be it further proclaimed that the Township encourages collaboration with local schools, faith communities, businesses, nonprofits, and advocacy organizations to promote a welcoming and cohesive civic environment that honors the dignity of all people. And be it further proclaimed that Haverford Township affirms its core values of equity, belonging, integrity, and service, recognizing that a thriving community depends on compassion, accountability, and the active inclusion of every resident. Proclaimed this 9th day of February, 2026.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. All right, we now move on to agenda item number 3, the Citizens Forum. This is the portion of our meeting during which members of the audience may come to share their remarks. Afterward, we'll open the floor to so we'll begin with registered speakers who will share their remarks, and then we'll open the floor up to members of the audience who wish to speak on agenda items. If you wish to speak on something that's not on the agenda tonight, you can do so during our second Citizens Forum, which happens later in the meeting. Each speaker will be given approximately 3 minutes to offer their remarks. And when you come up, I ask that you please introduce yourself with your name, your general residency, and then begin your remarks. And with that, we have 2 registered speakers this evening, beginning with Rosalind Spiegel, who's from our Human Relations Commission. Rosalind.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me. My name is Rosalind Spiegel. I live at 734 Preston Avenue in Bryn Mawr, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Haverford Township Human Relations Commission regarding the Black History Month and the Welcoming Communities proclamations. In support of the Black History Month proclamation, I'm bringing additional awareness to the history of enslaved people here in Haverford, a little known yet integral part of our history. The owners of enslaved people were Welsh, English, Scottish, Irish, and German. Enslaved people came primarily from the Caribbean and West Africa, and as such, the enslavement of people in Haverford were part of a transatlantic context as much as any southern location. A few examples, starting with the Grange Estate. Its owner, John Wilcox, made his living as a slave trader and purveyor of slave-made products. The money he made was used to build the Grange, and it was kept up by the 4 enslaved people he owned. The financing construction of the federal school was possible in part by the wealth created by the labor of enslaved people owned by Francis Lee, and at his Pensbury Manor, William Penn enslaved 12 people. Enslaved people worked in taverns, on farms, Quaker settlements. They raised livestock, grew crops, did domestic work, and reproductive labor of forced childbearing and raising children, some who themselves would be sold. They endured pervasive violence, terror, physical impairment, and physical disablement. With everything stacked against them, enslaved people resisted, maintained their identity, and even found joy. Even after being freed, employment opportunities were very limited and quite exploitative, and these conditions, of course, continued on into the 19th and 20th centuries. Which brings me to an announcement I'd like to make. The Haverford Human Relations Commission and the Haverford Township Free Library is co-sponsoring the movie Rustin, the organizer of the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. That feat brought 250,000 people together across the country to the National Mall to urge passage of the Civil Rights Bill to end segregation. The date for our program is Saturday the 28th, and the time is 1:30, and we hope you all come, and I brought some flyers to hand out to you after I'm done talking. The library is also offering several other events to commemorate Black History Month. For the second set of comments on behalf of the HRC, we offer our appreciation of the Welcoming Community Initiative proclamation and its acknowledgement of our birthday, our 15-year-old birthday, and the establishment of the HHRC. Should wear like a little birthday hat. Our commission works to promote understanding across differences, to educate residents about their protections, and to serve as an adjudicating body when residents experience discrimination. Our purpose is to ensure all persons have equal opportunities in employment, housing, commercial property, and public accommodations. And in addition, we strive to model the values expressed in the school district of Haverford Township's Welcoming Schools policy by cultivating a climate of respect, empathy, equity for every person who lives, works, studies, or visits here. This proclamation lets residents and employees here in Haverford Township know that we value them regardless of their background, identity, or circumstances. The HHRC, however, encourages the township to support resolutions and policies that ensure equitable treatment, safety, access to services, participation in civil life that is open to all, uphold community well-being, and be a home for all voices. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now move on to our next registered speaker, Jason Magidson.
Is it okay that, I don't think this is an agenda item, is that okay, or do you want me to wait till later?
Because you're a registered speaker, you may speak on an
okay.
item that's not
All right.
on the agenda. Thank
I
you.
missed that, thank you. All right, so, good evening, Commissioners. I feel fortunate to be in this township. I just listened to the stuff that you're talking about. It feels very inclusive and feels like a welcoming community, so thanks for what you're doing there. But you also get things done, and you do it, very effectively and efficiently. So I do appreciate, even though I'm not here at a lot of the meetings, I do appreciate what you're doing. So specifically, in terms of the things that you've gotten done, the library expansion, beautiful library, economic development with Discover Haverford and other things, environmental stuff, solar panels, electric vehicles, there's others. Our trail network, expanding that's great. Traffic and safety improvements, and then the recent resolution with the police and ICE, and I think that's wonderful. So these accomplishments reflect your commitment to enhancing the quality of life in Haverford Township. The problem is you've created these high expectations, so now that's good, but it's also that people are going to ask for more things because you're doing such a good job. So I'm in front of you tonight to ask you that you consider another improvement to our community, which would be a phase out of gas leaf blowers. I recently read an Inquirer article about how Lower Merion passed that bill there, and they're phasing it out between now and 2029. I was struck by several points in the article. Gas leaf blowers are a major source of air pollutants that impact health. So the combustion engines are very low efficiency. They leave 30% of the gas and oil unburned and release that into the atmosphere. The California Air Resources Board, CARB, estimates the operation of a gas blower for 1 hour releases emissions equivalent to driving a car for 15 hours or 1,100 miles. As a parent of someone who grew up with asthma, I know the children are highly susceptible to these hazards. Children breathe more air per pound of body weight per day than adults, and thus they inhale more of the pollutants that you'll find in these from these gas leaf blowers, including carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, benzene, nitrogen oxides, hydrocarbons, and particulate matter. Children's lungs, eyes, ears, and other organ systems are still developing, making them more sensitive to environmental hazards than the organs of adults. In addition, besides the impact on the residents, the operators themselves who are working in the landscaping companies, they face the greatest exposure. They're right with these this equipment, so there's the harmful emissions and the damaging noise levels, which are comparable sometimes to motorcycles and chainsaws. They also, like if you're, having breakfast or you're, trying to work at home or you're trying to enjoy the weekend, you hear these things and it's not exactly the best music to hear when you're in your yard. Fortunately, there's alternatives like battery-powered things. The technology is getting better and better. I know that the Lower Merion, they involve some of the landscapers and other contractors in that process, and they got input from them, and so they had some considerable positive feedback from those landscapers. So anyway, I'm urging you to explore that at some point, with the different groups like the EAC. Look at that and consider that in your busy agenda with all the other things you're doing. And again, thanks for how you're serving the community. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that exhausts our list of registered speakers, so I now invite members of the public who wish to speak on an agenda item. Are there any members of the public on the left-hand side who would like to speak first row, second row, third row, last row? Anybody on the right-hand side? Okay. All right, well, thank you. So I'll open it up for board response to any of the comments provided this evening.
Madam President,
Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
an issue came up in our neighboring township, and I had spoken with the chief and was going to ask the chief, since I think it is in the nature of the public forum and the right time for this, to for the chief to come forward. And I just wanted to ask him some questions about the ICE activity in Lower Marion and the Lower Marion Police Department's response to that. And if I understand, Chief, you had a chance to speak with the Lower Marion Police Department chief.
I did, yes.
And one of the things I saw in the police department's, maybe perhaps the most important thing I saw in that, in the reporting on that and in the police department's statement on that was that the police department wants anybody who becomes aware of this activity to alert the police department. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Because at this stage, there's no indication that there's any advance notice to any local police departments of ICE activity. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I think the federal agency operating ICE has made it clear to neighboring Upper Darby Township and Lower Marion that they will have no contact with the jurisdictions while they're operating in their townships. We haven't had any conversations yet because there has not, to our knowledge, been any activity.
I think a lot of people assume that as soon as that started happening in Lower Marion, that the police department was aware of it, but that's actually not so.
Not so at all. That's correct. And this, where this happened, is very close to the borders of Haverford Township. I did speak to the superintendent of Lower Marion at length about what happened. They found out about it 2 days later. Neighbors did see it happen, and some neighbors did film it, but nobody called 911. And what he stressed in his message that we, as well as Lower Marion and Upper Darby, will respond to any police call. And if it's what a police agency that's operating, we will identify who that agency is. We will not get involved, nor will we interfere if they're making a legal arrest. We will just stand by and identify who they are to make sure that they are.
What is the benefit to our residents who see that to call you immediately and
Yes.
get Haverford Township Police Department on the scene as quickly as possible?
That's correct.
What's the good that comes from that?
Yes, it helps us identify who's operating in town. We've all seen the news, and a lot of them work undercover. Whether they're, your opinion, legitimate or illegitimate, we still have a job to do, and we'll respond and identify who they are and make sure that they are legally operating. We will not interfere with their legal search warrants or warrants. Just stand by and observe.
Do you think it's that it is the most effective way for people in Haverford Township to ensure that situations like this don't escalate?
Well, having us on location, having any marked law enforcement agency on location would hopefully de-escalate the situation. All of our officers are trained in all the de-escalation techniques, and we will help in any way we can. But just to be clear, law enforcement agencies are allowed to operate, and we will not interfere as long as they are operating legally.
But at the same time, what the resolution that was passed by this board a month ago, and the facts as they existed even before that resolution, that there is not a formal agreement between the police department and ICE. Nothing in that has changed.
No.
And your appearance there would A, help keep the peace, but B, not change what is currently the state of
That's what our
affairs
job would be,
between
to keep the
Haverford
peace,
and
correct.
ICE. I appreciate that, Chief. Thanks
And
for that
just to be
information.
clear, Commissioner, we had never been contacted by the federal government or ICE for any assistance since all this operation started. And even before the 287, as you stated, we wouldn't be allowed to operate within those parameters without the government giving permission to the police department. So that there is steps to be taken before that is allowed to happen.
To date, are we aware of any ICE activity within Haverford Township?
Not to our knowledge.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Any further board response?
Yeah, just to follow up on the comments about the leaf blowers, I know the Environmental Advisory Committee has looked into this matter and is preparing some documentation for review of members of the commissioners, and it's going through the normal process that we have when they have recommendations to make to this board, and So it's in the early stages of that, but I know they have looked into it.
Thank you. Any further board response from my colleagues? And hearing none, we'll move on to the Bureau of Fire update presented by Commissioner Gondak. Commissioner Gondak, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The Haverford Township Bureau of Fire report for January of 2026. We had total incidents, 70, 49 township incidents, and 21 out-of-township mutual aid incidents. The average personnel per call was 19. We logged 635 personnel hours committed to incidents and 679 personnel hours committed to training. The Haverford Township Bureau of Fire responded to a fatal working fire at 700 Ardmore Ave on Saturday, January 3rd at 3:33 a.m. 60 members from all 5 township fire companies responded, along with mutual aid from Broomall and Ardmore Fire Companies. Companies were on scene for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Unfortunately, one elderly woman passed away from injuries caused by the fire. The Haverford Township Bureau of Fire responded to a working fire at 6 Lincoln Ave on Wednesday, January 28th at 9:43 p.m. 72 members from 5 township fire companies responded, along with mutual aid from Broomall and Drexel Hill Fire Companies. Companies were on scene for 1 hour and 35 minutes. The Bureau of Fire provided mutual aid to 3 working fires within Delaware County. And on Thursday, January 29th, 25 Haverford Township Bureau of Fire members received recognition at the annual awards night for various training. Mark Sweeney of the Brookline Fire Company received recognition for 50 years of dedicated service, and Mike Norman Sr. of the Manoa Fire Company received recognition for 60 years of dedicated service. With regards to our ambulances, in January of 2026, we had 513 total dispatches, resulting in 428 patient charts and 272 patient transportations. We had coverage come into our township 32 times and coverage left our township 95 times. That is the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Gondak. Any questions or comments from Mr. Gondak?
Just one of those fires was, again, the Hart family and the fire department responded. The one on Lincoln Avenue was my daughter's, and she was very happy with the quick response. So hopefully we're done with you people.
You want to just check on them every week?
Yeah.
Good plan.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? And hearing none, we'll move on to our Township Auditor update by Mr. Ross Anderson. Mr. Anderson, the floor is yours.
I've reviewed the warrants and expenditures for this meeting. I found no irregularities, and all my questions were answered to my satisfaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Anderson? And hearing none, we'll move on to our Township Manager update. Mr. Berman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This evening, I have a little bit of a teaser. Coming up a little bit later this year, we are preparing to launch a curbside food waste collection program. It's a pilot program here in Haverford Township. We've been working for months, if not years, to try and figure out opportunities to reduce disposal costs. And we also want to improve how we manage our waste. So I guess we all kind of realize food waste does make up a significant portion of what ends up in the trash stream. Diverting it creates both operational benefits, but also financial benefits. So what we're looking at is an opt-in program. It's an opportunity for residents who already receive trash and recycling service from the township to voluntarily participate in this program. They'll place their food in sealed 5-gallon buckets at curbside, and collection will take place every Monday with the yard waste. And we're working on a way that we can combine all of that in one collection. We're going to divert this waste from trash disposal, and we're going to save money, particularly on the tipping fees. Over time, those savings are going to add up, and we're going to offset the cost of these operations. So there's also the sustainability benefit, where we are going to be converting the food waste into usable compost. So there's that benefit. It's going to reduce our environmental footprint. And so this, again, is going to be a pilot program. We're going to monitor it very closely. It's voluntary and it's low risk. We plan to look at participation levels, contamination rates, and operational impacts, and actual cost savings that we can report on. So we anticipate bringing an agreement to the Board of Commissioners for this service, which is going to be a different compost facility than our current our current place where we take our yard waste. And we want to bring that agreement to you likely in March, maybe April, and I'll have a much more detailed presentation for the board at that time. I'm excited about it. It's again, a low-risk voluntary program, and I'm enthusiastic for this opportunity. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Township Manager Berman. Any questions or comments for our Township Manager?
I can tell you that we have been composting for a couple of years now, and between that and recycling, it is shocking how little actual trash we now generate, for collection in a week or even in 2 weeks. So looking forward to the implementation of that program.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Any further questions or comments from my colleagues? And hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, the approval of warrants. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President.
Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
I move we approve warrant number 2 of 2026 totaling $6,800,734.11, comprising the general and sewer fund payroll for January 15th, 2026 in the amount of $1,404,904.54, the general and sewer fund payroll for January 29th, 2026 in the amount of $1,049,761.91, general fund disbursements in the amount of $1,759,957.76. Sewer fund disbursements in the amount of $468,923.11. Community development block grant disbursement in the amount of $91,884.83. The capital projects fund disbursements in the amount of $977,427 even. The American Rescue Plan Fund disbursements in the amount of $1,035,563.50. And a credit card statement ending January 27th, 2025 in the amount of $12,311.46.
Thank you. I've heard a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Heard a motion and a second. The motion's now open for discussion. Any questions or comments from my colleagues on the board?
Both our finance manager and township auditor have been through these warrants, and any questions they have been answered to my satisfaction, and I recommend we approve the warrant.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Berman, please take the roll.
Commissioner Gondek.
Yes.
Commissioner Forsti-Grupp.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavender.
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes.
Yes.
Commissioner Quinn.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Yes.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item number 8 to consider the consent agenda, the items under the consent agenda. Please note that all items are detailed in the public packet. This time I'd like to ask my colleagues if they wish to remove any items from the consent agenda. Hearing no requests, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yes, I move to approve items A and B of the consent agenda as further detailed in the packet.
Is there a second?
Second.
Heard a motion and a second. Motion's now open for discussion. Any further questions or comments from my colleagues? And hearing none, we'll move to vote. Mr. Berman.
Commissioner Gondek.
Yes.
Commissioner Forsti-Grupp.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavender.
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes.
Yes.
Commissioner Quinn.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Yes.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item number 9, our ordinances. Tonight we'll consider 2 ordinances, beginning with ordinance number P1 2026, second reading of a traffic ordinance. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President,
Yes, Commissioner Forsti-Grupp.
motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance number P1-2026, further amending and supplementing ordinance number 1960, adopted June 30th, 1986, and known as General Laws of the Township of Haverford, Chapter 175, Vehicles and Traffic, installing a special purpose parking zone in front of 605 Woodland Drive.
Is there a second?
Second.
Heard a motion and a second. The motion's now open for discussion. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? And hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Berman?
Commissioner Gondik.
Yes.
Commissioner Forresty Grubb.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavender.
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes.
Yes.
Commissioner Quinn.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Yes.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Yes, motion carries. We'll now move on to a first reading of P2-2026, a first reading of a traffic ordinance. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance P2 2026, further amending and supplementing ordinance number 1960 adopted June 30th, 1986, and known as the General Laws of the Township of Haverford, Chapter 175, Vehicles and Traffic, prohibiting the parking of all vehicles at all times on the southeast side of Darby Road at Mill Road to a point approximately 70 feet south of the crosswalk.
Second.
Heard a motion and a second. The motion's now open for discussion. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Berman?
Commissioner Gondik.
Yes.
Commissioner Forresty Grubb.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavender.
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes.
Yes.
Commissioner Quinn.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Yes.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Yes, motion carries. We now move on to agenda item number 10, resolutions. This evening, the board will consider 3 resolutions, starting with resolution number 2477-2026. I'll entertain a motion.
President.
Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
Madam President, I move we adopt Resolution 2477 of 2026, authorizing an amendment to the 2026 Comprehensive Fee Schedule.
Second.
Heard a motion and a second. The motion's now open for discussion. Any questions or comments from my colleagues?
We discussed this at our work session last week. Our finance director pointed out the one change in the entire exhibit that necessitates this resolution. And it is a change, a reduction in the cost for a police accident investigation report from $25 down to $15. I recommend that we adopt it.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Any further questions or comments? And hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Berman?
Commissioner Gondik.
Yes.
Commissioner Forresty Grubb.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavender.
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes.
Yes.
Commissioner Quinn.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Yes.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Yes, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 2478-2026.
Madam President.
Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
Madam President, I move we adopt Resolution 2478 of 2026, approving the Second American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund reassignment of obligations.
Second.
Thank you. I've heard a motion and a second. Motion's now open for discussion. Any questions?
This was also something we discussed last week. This notes reassignment of funds between projects that were obligated as of December 31st, 2024. And they address instances of cost overrides, underrides, changes in vendors, general change orders, the largest of which is about $3,400, the smallest of which was 20 cents. It all obviously nets out to zero, and we discussed it in detail last week. And I recommend that we adopt it.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Berman?
Commissioner Gondik.
Yes.
Commissioner Forresty Grubb.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavender.
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes.
Yes.
Commissioner Quinn.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Yes.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Yes, motion carries. I'll now entertain a motion for our final resolution, 2479-2026.
Madam President.
Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
I move we adopt Resolution 2479 of 2026, approving the annual transfers of the 2026 budget.
Second.
I've heard a motion and a second. Motion's now open for discussion. Any questions or comments from my colleagues?
Again, we discussed this in detail last week, with a total amount of $125,000 of changes in revenues and changes in expenditures that obviously zero out at the end. I recommend we adopt it.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Berman?
Commissioner Gondik.
Yes.
Commissioner Forresty-Grubb.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavender.
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes.
Yes.
Commissioner Quinn.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Yes.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Yes, motion carries. And that exhausts our resolutions for the evening. So we'll now move on to the continuation of our citizens forum, providing an opportunity for members of the public who wish to address the board. This can be on agenda items or non-agenda items. It looks like we have our first taker, so I'll just invite Ms. Alvarez up, please.
Good evening, Michelle Alvarez, 134 Hastings Avenue. I have a couple of things. I would like to make a recommendation going forward to publish our snow removal policies in the Haverford Times that comes out in December, and making it first and foremost even more important than the Parks and Recreation. I know you find that hard for me to say, but first and foremost, as well as when you mail the calendars for trash and recycling, not everybody gets a newsletter from a commissioner. Not everybody goes on Facebook and reads the rules. And unfortunately, we continue to have people who will snow plow their snow into the street, making it difficult for everybody, that don't know you're supposed to take your cars off the street so the plows can plow curb to curb, which then necessitates residents having to shovel the street just to get out of their driveway, and they can't put that snow back on the street. They need to put it somewhere else. And in some of our tight neighborhoods that are twins, it's very difficult to get rid of snow when a snow plow hasn't been able to get rid of it for us. So it's just a matter of how to get it out there to the most people to know it. And everyone looks at their trash and recycling little pamphlet that comes out because they need to know, do we have trash on what day and what have you. So to me, those two things, the December newsletter and the trash and recycling schedule, would be a great place to let every resident know what the snow removal policies are, because it's not real pleasant in a small, tight-knit neighborhood. Anyway, second thing, I'd like to ask the township manager about this wonderful idea of a composting curbside program. I've been composting for over 30 years myself in my backyard. It's the best stuff to put in your garden versus any kind of fertilizer. Two things I would ask is, you talked about all food waste, and meat products can't go in compost. So that's why I was just curious how we're going to educate the public of how to sort the food waste. And the second thing, and I've said this at numerous times before over the 24 years I've lived here, is can we get to the point in this township where we charge by the can for trash, so that people who are diligent with composting and or recycling and reuse and so forth, and don't have even one can a week, versus people who have piles of trash in front of their house twice a week, those people would pay more, and perhaps you would collect more money that would help with the tipping fees. So those are just two things I raised, but I think it's a great idea that we're going to go to curbside for anyone who wants it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alvarez. Any other comments from the audience? I'll go to the second row, third row, and a row. Mr. Lee.
I also have been composting my yard for like 25 years from a program done by the county and the township here. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the resolution, the second resolution, that proclamation that Commissioner Holmes did. And I want to commend Commissioner Hart, because he's really been keeping us up to date as to what's going on with the zoning rewrite. But I'm wondering, that to me, that resolution that you did sounds like it said kind of a work agreement that the township guarantees residents to have. And the way I read it is that we're going to be included in all decisions that impact us. We're going to have a chance to give our input on things. And right now we have a problem with what's going on with the contractor. I know you guys voted for him, but I don't know how he was selected, or that company, the FHI Studio, was selected. And I'm wondering, where will we be able to comment on the work they've done, particularly the condensing of various things
into like more concise wording. So I'm just wondering where we're going to be involved in that, because I think it's going to the steering committee, and then it's going to the planning commission. So I have no idea where we're going to be able to comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Are there any further comments on the left-hand side? On the right-hand side? Mr. Ramona?
Good evening, Brian Ramona, Belfield Avenue, 9th Ward. Had one question, and it is actually on the agenda. On item 7, at the very end, it says the credit card statement ending January 27, 2025. I'm assuming that's a typo? Or was it last year's
It is 2026.
Okay, I just thought maybe you'd want to correct that to make it
Thank
right.
you for the correction.
So I wanted to talk also, I wanted to respond to the gentleman who mentioned the snow blowers and the leaf blowers. My son is a Haverford teacher and as well does a lot of landscaping in the township and in surrounding townships. And it would be quite a hardship on him to have to give up his gas blowers. So I'd like to see more data on just how polluting it is, considering we have 2 fairly major thoroughfares that run through the township, and actually 3 if you count the blue routes. So are the gas leaf blowers really creating much more pollution than the blue route, Westchester Pike, or Township Line Road? That I don't know. As far as snow removal, I know it's been really, really difficult, and I know that on Belfield, at the bottom of Belfield, we have a big ice sculpture that's kind of in the middle of the road. So people coming off Township Line Road, there's barely room for one car. So I've seen it in a couple of occasions where somebody starts to make a turn into Belfield and there's somebody already there on Belfield looking to get on Township Line, and hasn't been a problem. We haven't seen any accident. Well, I have seen one accident. There was one accident last week, but that was actually on the Township Line Road itself. I don't know if the person was turning or not, but I know it was really difficult this year because of the ice, and the plows were able to do the best they could. But were they? I know I saw Judy's newsletter about having not been able to get plows through a second time because you don't want to damage the equipment. Is that really the case? And don't we need to maybe look at some of the major roads and major intersections where we may have some potential problems? I just think that's something to think about. And last thing I want to end on is, I know we all froze to death this weekend. I know I did because I was downtown several times at Drexel with 45-mile-an-hour winds and -17 wind chills at La Crosse. So that was fun. But I want to give you a word of hope. Tomorrow, pitchers and catchers report. So baseball is right around the corner. That means spring is coming, and it can't come soon enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramona. Any further comments? Anybody else? Okay. All right, so I'll now open it up to my colleagues for board response. Do any of my colleagues wish to respond to any of the comments made this evening?
President Trombetta, if I could respond to Mr. Lee. The plan is it will go to the steering committee. There will be a draft before the first opportunity for public comment will be at the planning commission meetings. But prior to that meeting, there will be a published on the website list of what the changes are. So you'll be able to see them prior to the meeting. I don't have a timeline for you. It's going to be sometime in the spring next month. I'll probably have a better idea after the steering committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Hart.
Madam President.
Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
2 issues I wanted to address. One, composting is, you can put meat and fat and animal containing stuff in some composting, depending on how large the organization is and how sophisticated their equipment is. On Township Day, we have had the AAC here, and there have been examples where they do it, but at home composting, people don't recommend it because that attracts animals, whereas our compost sits right outside, and we've never had so much as a bored squirrel go at it. But you put in one piece of bacon, and then you're feeding, the whole zoo. So I'm sure whatever we go with, we will then educate people properly. But there is composting programs that are regulated enough and large enough to accommodate all food materials, and I hope that's what we're talking about. And with regard to the typo on the credit card statement, I appreciate that, but it is worth mentioning. I read these warrants every month, and they always finish with the credit card statement. And I've said this over in the past, but it's probably been a year since I said that. The township does not carry credit card debt. We don't pay 25.8% to Discover Card or anybody like that. Our Park and Rec Department in particular uses a township credit card in order to prepay some of the things that it then makes available to our residents. So to the extent that you can get prepaid passes to Hershey Park or to Bear Mountain, or even to Broadway Place, whatever the Park and Rec Department does, it does not wait for a check and a requisition and anything that would come from our finance department, but is able to then charge them. Our credit card statements are zeroed out every month. We don't pay any interest on them, and none of these things are outside of the budget of the Parks and Rec Department or any department that uses a credit card. It's just situations where paying by that credit card is the preferred choice than waiting for a check. So that's worth stating at least once a year. So we'll make some lemonade out of that typo lemon. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Further comments from my colleagues? Just to your question, Ms. Alvery, about the educational component related to the composting curbside collection. We did have a meeting not long ago with some of the staff at the township, and there will be a significant educational component that's incorporated into this, including a webpage that will be dedicated to discussing, what is allowed, what's not permitted based off of the contractor that we're using. So we do intend to do that and incorporate that. So thank you. Any further comments? Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
Yeah, sorry. I also want to address something that Ms. Alvery brought up, and that is the notion of the per can or kind of trash fees per use as opposed to per house. There is a huge enforcement issue to that adds a great deal of administration and adds a great deal of time to the actual collection when it comes time to policing that kind of per use. Because as I bragged, I guess, as I virtue signaled earlier about how little trash I put out, well, if I just change my mind or get hit on the head and wake up a Republican and then I start, I'm messing around, guys. And then decided to start putting a ton of trash in. Who's going to police that except a trash guy who says Holmes is only supposed to have one can every 2 weeks, and now here he's got 3 cans of trash coming out this week. So there are significant administrative hurdles to doing that. And personally, I'm speaking on behalf of the board, but personally on this issue, I consider trash collection to be one of those collective goods that government provides. It isn't doing it for a fee or for profit. It's just one of the things that makes a township work. Our 2 trash collections plus, single stream recycling is something that benefits all Havertonians and all Haverford Township residents. So I guess I don't warn you, but I alert you that if that were to come for consideration on the board, I'd fight pretty hard against trying to do that because I really do think that's one of the things that collectively works better. Our economies of scale work better. We outfit our trash people and make serious commitments, serious capital commitments to a trash fleet that has a certain expectation of trash collection, and it would cost us more and I think take away from the value of the township to start doing that kind of can by can or trash by trash. Doesn't make me right, but
Just say Lower Merion's been doing it for a long time.
they can. But Lower Merion has more money than Saudi Arabia, so they hire like 42,000 people, and we're trying to do what we can with an excellent staff that's overworked. So I appreciate that point.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Any further comments from my colleagues? And hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Are there any matters that my colleagues would like to bring forward for discussion at this time under new business? Hearing none, we'll move on to other business. That's the portion of our meeting during which commissioners make their final remarks. We'll start with First Ward Commissioner Brian Gondek. Commissioner Gondek, the floor is yours.
Just a couple quick things. One is I would just like to give a personal thank you to our township police and fire departments who were kind enough to meet me at 2 a.m. last night, or I guess this morning, at my place of business when one of my sprinklers froze over from it being so cold out and decided to explode. They were very professional, very helpful, and just like to say a personal shout out to thank them for their support in that interesting time. Also like to say congratulations to Chris Rogers, who has accepted the position of operations manager at the stadium. He had been acting in an interim fashion, but after a selection process by our township employees, he was extended the offer to become the operations manager and has accepted it. And I just want to congratulate him. The stadium has become quite the township asset, and has been a great community place that continues to grow and develop. Finally, just want to give a quick announcement that while you couldn't tell the spring is around the corner, spring is around the corner, and the 14th annual Sacred Heart Shamrock Shuffle is going to be on Saturday, March 7th starts at 10:30 a.m. It's a 1 mile kids dash, a 5K run, and a family fun walk. If you happen to live in the neighborhoods around the Sacred Heart that day, basically going from where the church and the parish center is all the way back down Upland Road toward as far back as Rittenhouse. Those neighborhoods will be slightly impacted by traffic blockages in the morning, so just please be aware of that. As the 5K and the fun walk and the kids dash are going on, there'll be a variety of road closures. But generally, that event goes off without much of a hitch, just giving everyone in those neighborhoods a heads up. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Gondek. We now move on to Second Ward Commissioner Sherry Forsty-Grupp.
I'd like to say thank you to Miss Emily from 11 East Langhorne, who wrote me this note asking about the wall on Darby Road in the Lanark section of Haverford Township. And I wanted to let her know publicly that I have her letter and she should be expecting an answer very, very soon. I would also like to acknowledge that we have a scout here who is working on earning his citizenship and community badge, and that is Jude Lehu, sitting in the second row. So I would like to thank him for coming to observe our commissioner meeting to see how we work together and listen to each other to run our township. So thank you for serving as the next generation of leaders. Then I would like to end with some comments. A couple comments about the resolution we passed and then the two proclamations. So last month, this Board of Commissioners did pass a resolution establishing an official policy that its law enforcement officers and resources should not be engaged in the enforcement of non-criminal federal immigration laws. And tonight, this Board of Commissioners issued two proclamations, one declaring February as Black History Month, where we celebrate and acknowledge the enduring contributions of African Americans to our nation, and then the second reaffirming the township's commitment to fostering an inclusive, respectful, and welcoming community for all residents, employees, and visitors. The previous resolution and both of these proclamations are intimately connected because they confirm that our township embraces we the people as a richly diverse, vibrant, and ever-changing population. But over the last few months, some elected officials, their political appointees, and federal employees have been challenging long-held laws and customs about who should be considered one of we the people. Across the United States, their agents have acted without regard for those rights granted to anyone living in this nation, both citizens and immigrants alike. In Minneapolis, two people, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, were murdered for exercising their First Amendment rights and speaking out against injustice. In his April 1963 letter from Birmingham jail, Martin Luther King Jr. defended the right of people to protest to achieve a moral end which uplifted and protected human dignity. Quote, "We must use time creatively and forever realize that the time is always ripe to do right. Now is the time to make real the promise of democracy and transform our pending national elegy into a creative psalm of brotherhood. Now is the time to lift up our national policy from the quicksand of racial injustice to the solid rock of human dignity." End of quote. This is the 250th year of the founding of our nation. In 1789, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were proposed. In 1863, not quite 100 years later, Lincoln confirmed in the Gettysburg Address that, quote, "This nation shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth," end of quote. Now in 2026, we must determine yet again what kind of nation and yes, township do we want to be for the next, I hope, 250 years. What are we each going to do to fight injustice, to preserve human dignity of every person? What are each of us going to do to create a more perfect union where everyone has the liberty and justice we promise in the Pledge of Allegiance, a pledge we all recite together in harmony at the beginning of this meeting? So let me close by quoting Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s words in his letter of the Birmingham jail, some of his closing words. He says, "Let us all hope that the dark clouds of prejudice will soon pass away and the deep fog of misunderstanding will be lifted from our fear-drenched communities, and in some not too distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine over our great nation with all of their scintillating beauty." End of quote.
Thank you, Commissioner Forresty-Grout. We'll now move on to 5th Ward Commissioner Laura Cavender. Commissioner Cavender, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to make some quick comments regarding some of the agenda items, in particular our 2 proclamations tonight. When I look at those, I think they're connected by a shared set of values, a commitment to truth, and a willingness to look squarely at injustice rather than turn away from it when it is painful and difficult. At a time when we have a national reckoning over how we talk about history and how we treat one another, these proclamations affirm that honesty is the foundation of a just community. Recognizing Black History Month means honoring achievement while acknowledging that the often painful history of African Americans is embedded in our society, in our culture, and the systems we live with today. Declaring Haverford Township a welcoming community means affirming that no one should feel targeted, fearful, or excluded from daily life, and that dignity and fairness are not conditional. I would like to thank our Haverford Human Relations Commission Chair, Ross Spiegel, for the Commission's support in these efforts to make Haverford an even more inclusive place to live, work, and play, and for working to provide education, resources, and advocacy on behalf of everyone in Haverford Township. And when I say education, resources, and advocacy, I also mean the Board of Commissioners. So we appreciate your efforts. Justice requires us to be open to understanding others' experiences, to confronting uncomfortable truths, and to building trust through respect. While our systems and structures do not change overnight, we each have the ability to do what we can do when we can do it. And I'm proud to be part of this township. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cavender. We'll now move on to 6th Ward Commissioner Larry Holmes.
Thank you, Madam President. I was very pleased that we started off the meeting with these proclamations because they were, I guess they were very positive, and I was concerned about what I was going to say at the end of the meeting about things that have happened that are so negative for the past month, including the appalling behavior on Friday by somebody who prior to his service as president, occupies an office that used to hold itself out as an example. So to our young scout who's here tonight, all is not lost, but look to local leaders, look to the people who live in your town, look to the police officers who look out for you, and the teachers who teach you, and the scout leaders who try to mold you into the fine young man that you are on your way to being. And do not give up hope. This is a great country full of great people. And we will get through this darkness. And we'll get through this darkness because people like you are still willing to try. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you got to see us in action. And I look forward someday to hearing of and seeing your accomplishments. So thanks for being here. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. We'll move on to 7th Ward Commissioner Connor Quinn, who, by the way, it's his birthday. So happy birthday.
Last year was fun because the Eagles won. This year I'm here, so I don't know if that tops it or not. I don't know. But thank you. And I would also like to thank all the crews that were out during the storm, the snow, to plow and to clear the roads. I know that we all got calls to thank the crews, and I'd also like to thank the police and the fire who you hear the horns and stuff. They're out there no matter what. Like the snow, it could be a foot of snow, and they're out there. So remember that when you get your dues to pay for the fire companies in this great town. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn. We'll move on to 8th Ward Commissioner Jerry Hart.
I thought for tonight I'd do something a little different. By the time it gets down here, all the thank yous have been given in the news. So I'm going to read a poem. I'm going to take advantage of my English major background. It's a poem by William Butler Yeats called The Second Coming that he wrote just at the end of World War I at a very chaotic time. And I think it has some meaning for our times as well. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, their center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed ride is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when the vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with a lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again. But now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. That's all I have, although I will expect essays from all of you now.
Love that. Commissioner McCollum, try to follow that one up.
That's a tough one to follow. Again, happy birthday to Commissioner Quinn. I spoke with Dan Mariani several times the weekend of the storm, and I can't say enough for our Public Works Department, the job they did under horrific conditions, bitter cold, things like that. Next, I would like to congratulate the fire at EMS services of our township. They had a ceremony, I guess it was about a week and a half ago. Unfortunately, they forgot to invite us, but I'd like to offer them their congratulations. And last but not least, President's Day is this Monday, so there'll be no brush. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McCollum. Vice President McCluskey, the floor is yours.
I also just wanted to touch on the storm briefly and express appreciation for everybody in the Public Works Department who worked a very, very long amount of hours in order to try to do the best job we could with this storm in the streets. And I understand that residents, a storm of this nature, there's no way the roads are going to be perfect, and there's understandable that there's going to be issues, and there's understandable that there's going to be complaints. Just understand that we do hear them, and that we certainly strive to do the best job that we can. And I do think that under the circumstances with the storm, with the length of time that it snowed, followed by the ice that came on top of it, and obviously we've seen in the last 2 weeks just the severe cold that we've had. So there's been no melting, and that is not plowed. I would say for various kids activities, I've been in various parts of the Delaware Valley over the last couple of weeks, and we're not alone. I mean, this is the roads are the same in terms of the challenges at the corners, and the challenges in terms of pulling onto side streets where there's supposed to be room for two cars, but there's only one. But I just want to say that we hear you. We'll always strive to do better with every storm. But I do want to thank the township employees who I think did a very admirable job, and I assure you spent many long hours trying to make the streets as passable as possible for everyone in town. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner McCluskey. Before we adjourn tonight, I too wanted to take a moment to reflect on the two important actions we took earlier this evening. Tonight, through proclamation, we formally recognized Black History Month and reaffirmed Haverford Township's commitment to being a welcoming and inclusive community for all. While these are meaningful actions, I'm truly saddened that we need to do this, that these affirmations feel needed now more than ever. At a time when division and fear too often dominate the conversation, it's important, I think, for local leaders to speak clearly and without hesitation. Racism, discrimination, and hate do not belong in Haverford Township. They have no place in our neighborhoods, our schools, our workplaces, or in our nation. I want our residents to know that here in Haverford Township, you are valued and respected, a valued and respected part of this community, no matter the color of your skin, who you love, where you come from, what language you speak, what faith you practice, or how you identify. Our differences are not weaknesses. They are our strengths that make this community richer and stronger. I think local government matters because it's often the closest point of trust between people and their institutions. So tonight we stood together to say that everyone deserves dignity, safety, and the opportunity to participate fully in civic life. That commitment is not symbolic. It is something we must continue to live through our policies, our actions, and how we treat one another every day. I'm proud of this township. I'm proud of this board and the work that we do together. I'm grateful to everyone who helps to make Haverford Township a place where all are welcome and all belong. With that said, any final comments from my colleagues on this board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.